Hello. So, it is the middle of the week. But I had this idea and I just went and made the list and then decided I'm gonna do the idea, but I'm not gonna do it the same way that I was really thinking to do the idea. So, um, Jordaline Reads. I love her. She regularly uses my name to just kind of talk to her audience. And I came across her video. I think it came across one of her videos came across my feed like a year ago, a year and a half ago. I think because she said my name so many times. And I commented that on the video. I was like, I think I was summoned here because of the sheer amount of times you said my name. And there was like a few reactions in the chat that were kind of funny. But I love her whole personality, her whole presentation, her whole one-sided conversations with Tiffany. Like love. I love her whole everything. And I was watching her favorite favorite horror books of 2024, and I went back and rewatched it again because I was like, I think I should make a list of every time she recommends me personally a book.
Tiffany, 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 because I feel like you deserve it, Tiffany.
And I made the list, and there were a few, and honestly, I wanted to read them all, but I'm like so overwhelmed with like everything else I'm trying to read right now that I was like, let's just focus on one. Let's focus on one. And I already had it from the library because literally everybody was recommending it, but also Jordaline recommended it, and she said my name. She was like, Tiffany.
I'm not even joking, Tiffany. This shit is so fucking good. The only thing wrong with it is that it wasn't more gay.
So I got this, and I have been wanting to read this for a while, but my library had it, and I figured we're gonna read it. I thought it'd be kind of fun. I'm gonna put in a clip of Jordaline telling me to read this, and I hope that she doesn't mind, because I really love that it feels like she's personally recommending me books every time. She's like, oh my god, Tiffany. I'm like, oh my god, Jordaline. Like, I will be at work and I'll be listening to her and she's like, oh my god, Tiffany. And I'm like, yes, Jordaline. Like, it entertains me. It keeps my day. Also, the number of times that she said my name in the first video I watched, I kept looking because I was like, what? Who is saying my, like, literally thought I was like hallucinating someone saying my name. And then I'm gonna settle in and I'm gonna see how much I can read of this. This is a short book. This is The Eyes of the Best Part by Monica Kim. It is like 275 pages. And my knowledge of this is that it's a girl who gets her, not a stepdad, but her mom gets a new boyfriend and she starts dreaming about eating his pretty blue eyeballs. And Jordaline says the only fault in this is that it's not gay enough. And I do love a sapphic horror, so kind of disappointed. But I think it should be fun, because I do love a little good for her moment, so we'll see. Good morning. I've made myself a bowl of cereal and a cup of coffee. My work has a 2-hour delay for snow, so I have about 40 minutes that I can sit here and read, because I chose to sleep in. So about 40 minutes I can sit here and read. I'm 25% in to The Eyes of the Best Part. And I wasn't going to film this, but one of my friends on Instagram told me that the book kind of does this weird reveal and tone change. She said it almost felt like a different book at some point. So I'm like, okay, we're going to record, because if that pisses me off, we might have a very different opinion about this. But for right now, I am a bit obsessed. When Jordaline said that this, like, spot on. Yeah. I think this is the one that she said it ate and left no crumbs, and so far I'm like, it is very obvious with its like, this is going to be a bad person. This is going to be a bad person. So essentially we're following G1, but not, I'm saying it wrong. It's more like apparently, because they say in the book how to say it, so it's G1, I guess, not one like you won something. But I struggle with I got a like 30-minute attempt to teach me how to say the name Hans correctly by one of my German friends, because I have a very American mouth, apparently. It's very unfortunate. I try really hard. So anyway, she is 18, she's in college. I think it seems like her freshman year, and her dad just walked out and left her and her little sister and her mom alone. And her mom is like not taking it well, obviously. Like, they've been married for a long time. Her mom is 53, and she's also kind of like emotionally manipulative. And she meets this American man at the Korean grocery store where she works, whose name is George. And George seems a little skeevy. He's like hitting on the young waitress at the Chinese restaurant they go to, refuses to be corrected on how to pronounce their names. And then he makes some inappropriate comments to the girls and kind of eyes them a lot, and the mom seems to not notice, and the girls are like not okay with it. The 15-year-old younger sister, she's like, I hate this man. Meanwhile, our main character, she's at school, and she kind of has made 2 new maybe friends. That whole like first day of classes thing where you kind of meet someone and form a tentative friendship, and one of them is this man who is kind of doing an overly performative I'm a feminist ally type thing. Like he says he's a feminist, he says he needs to be a safe place for women, and I was like, oh girl, you're so young and naive, run. Like, run from this man, this is not a good sign. He's like, when we first meets him, he's wearing a shirt that says nevertheless she persisted, and like I want a shirt like that, but I am also a white lady. Like, I am the target demographic for that shirt. So, oh man. So, they form this like tentative friendship, and then she chooses to sit next to this other girl in class, and this other girl is like, oh hey, we actually have 2 other, like we have another class together. And George is like obviously jealous, and she's like, oh, I know how it is, because I tend to get like, you know, I can get a little possessive of my friends and not want like to be left out. Like I feel like that's what he's doing, and I'm like, no, that's not what he's doing. He's so much more dangerous. So I'm a little bit concerned. I flew through 75 pages last night, so this is 277 pages, but I'm gonna show you, as the text is actually like not a lot per page, and the pages are kind of small, so I just like flew through it. Like I was distracted doing other things because I'm very much struggling to just sit and read lately, with everything going on in the world. So it's a very quick read. It's written very easy to just sit down and consume. The chapters are very short, which makes things feel so consumable. For my like super distraction that's going on right now, and my like inability to like focus on something for an extended period of time, this is perfect. So I'm gonna read as much as I can in the next 40 minutes while I eat my cereal and my coffee, and I'm gonna go back to work, and I'll check in with you around 50%, or if something that I can't handle happens. So I'm about to head out and take the dog for a walk and then run an errand. And Joann's is closing today, so there's a liquidation sale near me. But I'm like 60% into this. I meant to finish it yesterday. Just started doom scrolling, and today I was like Snapchatting a bunch while I was working on finishing it. So, I mean, we're a good chunk through. I've got less than 100 pages left, and I'll probably finish it today if everything goes to plan. But I'm kind of obsessed. This is like a kind of spiral into mental instability. Jiwon is not sure what is real and what isn't right now. And I think to talk about it, this is where we're going to get into some mild spoilers, okay? So essentially this man, George, who has started dating her mother, probably has a secret life. And we get kind of hints of that. Like he has extra keys on his keyring that he won't really talk about what they're for. He's mysteriously has to move in with them, even though he's like flashing all these $100 bills in his wallet. And I love that like Jiwon has like slowly been like stealing like money out of his wallet, and he doesn't even fucking notice. We're talking a lot about like mediocre white men, which is really funny given what's happening to me online lately. But we're talking about mediocre white men and their like inability to really care about anything unless it directly affects them, and their like blindness to things around them, and how that can be used as a way to kind of one, subdue them, and to mock them. And looking at that from the perspective of a first generation immigrant, and the dog has been dramatic. It's very interesting. So where did I get off the last time? Okay, so she's in her first year of college, and she's kind of struggling. Her first quarter is when her whole life started like crashing around her. And she's like, it's her dad left and she was starting school, and then her mom got this new boyfriend and moved him in, and like she did not do well, and she got put on academic probation because she's on a partial scholarship. And So she was like very concerned about that. And her friend Jeffrey, who I was concerned about, she's now seeing the problems with his behavior and his like fake persona of being, you know, the nice guy. He's the ally. He's the I'm a male feminist. Like, he's that guy who walks around with a "this is what a feminist looks like" shirt. And every time I've been having a lot of conversations about these types of guys with some friends online. He's the type of guy that every time it happens, I just think of the scene from Game of Thrones where it's like, no true king has to say he's a king, basically. It's like, I think I edited it and sent it to a friend with like, no true feminist has to say, like, if you have to say you're a feminist, you're not a king, basically. I left it at that, or whatever it was. Genuinely don't remember the exact wording, but we all know the sentiment of what I'm talking about. It's been forever since I've watched Game of Thrones. But yeah, so he's that guy where all of this stuff is like performative, because if he uses it correctly, he can get what he wants, and what he wants is G1. And she kind of seems to want Alexis, this girl in her class, who pointed out to her, like, don't you think what he's doing is a little like performative? And then G1 kind of like went through their interactions, and she's like, yeah, some of it is kind of cringy when I like think back on it. And then he gets her this Christmas gift. She's like, oh, you didn't have to. And he keeps trying to like force it on her, and he finally like forces it on her, and it's like a pair of like fancy chopsticks. And she's like, the fuck is this shit? Like, immediately she's like, oh, I have misread this man. Like, he's a piece of shit. And he may or may not be stalking her, and he's pretty upset, and he's like blaming her distancing herself from him on Alexis. And we kind of get like a hint of that in the very beginning, where she starts kind of looking at Alexis like a little bit longingly, like, or like intriguedly. And he's like, absolutely not on my watch, and gets really protective. And she just views it as like, I mentioned this, where she views it as like, oh, you know, I can get a little possessive in friendships too. And as someone who's also like, when I was younger, very insecure in my friendships, yeah, totally. Like, if one of my friends who was like my closest friend started like hanging out with another friend more than me, I would be like, what's wrong with me? Why don't they like me? Like, insecurities and things that I learned how to deal with as I got older. But when you're young, it's very difficult. So she recognizes that in him as just that mirror of her feelings. But he gets really needy, and she starts to be like, I can't deal with this. I have so much going on in my life. And he like doesn't believe her anytime she's like, I have stuff going on. I just can't. And he's blaming this other girl. So interesting. In the background, or the foreground, or the other 50% of the ground, she is she's having these nightmares of like murdering George, and she's starting to not be sure when they are nightmares and when they are reality. And her friend Alexis gave her some sleeping pills, because she's also like having like insomnia problems and stuff, so she gave her a couple. And there's been some hints that maybe Miss G1 has been using them to drug people. Maybe she's using them to drug people. And so, big spoiler, she goes to a study date at Alexis's, and when she comes out, the homeless man that she had given some money to is dead under a bush. So she cuts out his eye. And she drives to a gas station and uses their bathroom to eat it. And I was like, oh no! Like, no. Cannibalism! Like, and then it's like revealed that like the man was drugged, and that they're considering it a murder. And she's like, oh my god, did I do that? And yeah, so we're kind of following her, and she's like spiraling. Very intrigued. So yeah, this is like let's turn into a spoilers vlog, but I have to, like, I need to talk about this. I'm loving it. I really want to finish it today, but I just have to go do responsible things, like take the dog for a walk. And then I go run to the grocery store, and then, yeah. Going to Joanne's is a responsibility. It is, I swear, there's a reason. So, yeah, I'm gonna go take care of my stuff. And when I finish it, I'll check back in with you and give you the deets. Okay, so I finished this in 3 days. Would have been faster, but I had plans over the weekend, and so I only read like 50 pages-ish each day on the weekend. This is a very, very quick read. I loved it. I will show you, I think I've shown you the pages before, but they're like big margins, and like not a lot of text on the page. It's also written in just a very consumable way. It's a first person POV, and it was just really good. I do agree with Jordaline, like it needed to be more gay. Like, and I'll elaborate from my opinion. I was messaging the Infinite Library about it, and I was like, I do agree with Jordaline, it needs to be more gay. And they were like, but wouldn't everything be better if it was more gay? And facts. So, but basically there's like a hint of her having a emotional and sexual attraction to her female friend. And we never kind of like delve into that more than like her just kind of feeling a little uncomfortable about it and not quite sure like how her friend views it, and then it just kind of like fizzles. And I feel like it either needed to be there a bit more or just not be there, I think, and just left everything like completely like not attracted to anyone type of thing. I don't know. It was just kind of a little surface. This is a debut, and I do think I want to keep reading this author. I'm looking forward to the next thing that she puts out because I just really enjoyed this overall. The vibes were on point. There was a couple of scenes I had to like put the book down. I don't like mouth stuff. Like I don't like descriptions of saliva and eating, and I started gagging. I had to put it down. I'm okay with eyeballs weirdly, but I'm not okay with saliva. Like so I had to put it down because I was like, oh god. So there is a bit of a gross out. I think this is my favorite type of horror. It's social commentary, an unreliable narrator, and everything spiraling out of their control. I love that aspect of it. I like the topics we dealt with. Like I said, horror as a social commentary is like my heart and soul. It's my favorite thing to read, and I think the author did a fantastic job with that. My only things were everything felt a little surface level at some points. I don't mind it being like over the top, in your face, like here's this aggressive shitty white man, here is what Asian fetishization is, and I don't mind those being in your face. It gave it kind of this like certain kind of almost campy type tone to it. Not campy, but like every now and then I was like, this feels a little, because there's a point where like when you go really in your face with it, it feels very like you're hammering a point, and sometimes when it go over the top, it feels like you're just being a bit like silly about it almost, but it's not. It like toes that line, and I don't know how to describe it, where it just kind of made it feel more like. Hi, editing Tiff here to say what I was trying to think of a better word for is like editorial fashion, where you're boldly making a statement to tell a story and it's allowed to be over the top. That's kind of what I was thinking of. Almost like a good movie director could make this a horror comedy in the right kind of way. Like, but the book itself is not. But it felt like it would be very easy to take it and make it that, I guess is kind of what I'm saying. So, yeah. So there are some things I wish that Monica Kim had gone a little deeper into, and maybe made a little longer. This book is only 277 pages, and I think that there's some aspects at the end that definitely could have been extended or expounded upon, and especially with the twist that was included, or the reveal. I guess it's not really a twist, but the reveal that was included. And you can kind of, once the reveal happened, I was like, oh yeah, I should have seen that. That makes sense. So overall, like, I give it a solid 4, and I'm looking forward to reading more by this author. It's not going to be one of my favorites of the year, maybe, but it's up there. It will definitely be like an honorable mention. Like, as a debut, this is fantastic, and I'm really looking forward to more like from this author. So this is not a scary jump out at you horror. This is it's gross and gruesome horror. So like that's kind of where we're at with it. Like, Mayfly but less sexual. Mayfly but less sexual, I honestly think is kind of where this is like baby's first Mayfly. That's what this is. This is baby's first Mayfly. So if you liked that, like, this is like kind of bordering in that type of thing. So let me know your thoughts on it if you've read it, and I will talk to you soon with something else.